Hey folks, in this video example we're going to be talking about MetaLocator and Zapier. We will show you how to connect an external system to MetaLocator in order to process location updates. In this video example we're going to be using Google Forms to collect location information and have that data sent over to MetaLocator. But your integration might be something like a CRM or HubSpot or any other of the 4,000 integrations supported by Zapier. And so what will happen is data will come from Google Forms and a record will be created or updated in MetaLocator. And so this is the data that we're starting with. And our first step in the process for this video was to create a simple form in Google Forms. Now again, where your data is coming from is probably not going to be Google Forms, but it's a relatively simple example. And so what I've done is I've created a simple form that has name, address, city, state, and just left it at that. And so now that that form is created, what I'm going to do is create a Zap. So I'm going to log into Zapier and I'm going to click Create Zap. And the first thing is it's going to ask me what is going to trigger this Zap. And in this case, it's going to be somebody submitting a Google form. And so yours again might be Google Sheets, it might be HubSpot, or any other of the 4,000 integrations, but in this case I'm going to use Google Forms. It's going to ask me what event will actually trigger, because Google Forms offers a couple. I'll say a new form response. So anytime anybody fills out the form with a new response, it's going to trigger this action. It'll ask me to log in to Google Forms, and I'll go ahead and click Continue. The next thing it'll ask me is what form I'm dealing with. It's the new location form that we created. I'll go ahead and click Continue, and it will test the trigger using a recently submitted form. One thing that's kind of tricky is if you haven't filled out any data in your form, you're going to want to submit at least one or two records in the source system so that Zapier has something to work with. That looks good to me. I'll go ahead and click Continue. And now it's going to ask me what action I would like to perform when somebody submits a new form response in Google Forms. In this example, I'm going to choose MetaLocator. And if you need an invite, go ahead and request one from support. So if you don't see that option there, contact support and we will gladly extend an invite. The event that I'm going to choose is the upsert record event. And so Zapier is now looking over at MetaLocator and ensuring that that option is available. And I'll go ahead and click Continue. It's going to ask me what MetaLocator account I'll be connecting to. You'll probably only have one there. If you haven't signed in, Zapier will open a window for you to log in to MetaLocator. Provide your MetaLocator account owner, email address, and password in that window, and go ahead and click Continue. When you go to set up the action, this is where you are going to map the fields that are coming from the form, and you're going to choose where they go in the MetaLocator. And so hopefully this should be a pretty straightforward mapping. This list of fields is going to vary based on your account. So you might see fields here that you don't recognize, like store pick one. These are all custom fields from my account. And so every custom field that you have will be available here. And so I'm going to go ahead now and pick the fields in Google Forms that I want to map to my my forms or my fields in MetaLocator. So I'm going to map location name to location name. I'll map address to address. And I will map city to city, and I could go on and on as necessary. I won't continue because it'll probably take a long time to fill all those out. Now that I'm okay with the mapping, I can go ahead and click Continue. I like to hit Test and Review at this point just so I can make sure everything is good. Now before I hit Test though, let's go ahead and look at the data we have. Ideally, we should find a new record in MetaLocator after we test the Zap. And so it's going to create a location in Brookfield called Eugene's Fitness. So let's hit Test and Review. And it'll take a few seconds. I'll pause the video while that Zap runs. Excellent. Zapier reports the record was sent over to MetaLocator about 3 seconds ago, and this is the response from MetaLocator just confirming that that data was collected. And now if we go back to the All Records screen, we should see that record that was added, Eugene's fitness, including all the fields that we had mapped. And I only mapped a handful just to get the point across. And so if we go here, we should see name, address, and city. And so that is, I think, a complete demonstration of the Zapier connection. And now we can go ahead and publish our Zap. If the Zap is enabled, without any further configuration, if anybody fills out this Google form, new records will be created automatically in MetaLocator. And that will ensure that any changes that come in through my new location form are automatically reflected in MetaLocator. Thanks for your time.